Mary was only 17, a girl with no mother, no family to shield her, and no one to stand against the cruelty of the man who called himself her stepfather. The ranch, once a haven of warmth and safety, had become her prison. Coarse ropes bit into her wrists, the rough fibers searing her skin as she was bound to an old wooden fence. Her legs stretched painfully, her body exposed to the unrelenting sun. Each breath was laced with pain, each heartbeat heavy with fear. Too young to fully grasp why her life had spiraled into this nightmare, Mary was powerless against her stepfather, Hank, a man hardened by years of bitterness and greed. Hank struck her when she refused to sign over the ranch papers, the only legacy her mother had left her. His curses echoed as she wept, his words cutting deeper than the ropes, "You're worthless. A burden. Nothing without me." Each slap left bruises on her skin and scars on her spirit. Mary's childhood slipped away, replaced by terror and silence. She had learned to hide her tears, to bite her lip until it bled, to bury her screams. But today, she could no longer contain her anguish. Her voice broke the still air with desperate cries for help, though she barely believed anyone would hear. Her throat was raw, her voice cracked, but she clung to a fragile thread of hope. The sun scorched her skin, sweat and blood mingling as the dry grass whispered of death. Hank's shadow loomed in her mind, a reminder that her torment would persist unless she surrendered everything. Closing her eyes, Mary pictured her mother's smile, the ranch alive with laughter, a time when safety wasn't a distant memory. Now, only dust, ropes, and Hank's cruel laughter remained. Her body trembled with exhaustion, her spirit teetering on the edge of breaking. The ranch, her future, was slipping away, stolen by a man who was never truly family. Her cries echoed across the empty fields, startling birds from the fence posts. The wind carried her voice, but would it reach anyone who cared? Her lips quivered as she whispered a final plea into the sky, her strength fading, her heart racing with the terror of being forgotten. Then, the sound of hooves shattered the afternoon's silence. John Carter, a weathered traveler, was riding through the dry fields when a faint cry caught his ear. It wasn't the wind or an animal, it was the raw, desperate voice of a young woman in pain. His brows furrowed as he turned his horse toward the sound, a weight in that cry compelling him to act. A man with a soul couldn't ignore such anguish. Nudging his horse forward, the grass crunched beneath its hooves, the air thick with heat and dust. As he drew closer, he saw her, Mary, tied cruelly to the fence, her face streaked with dirt and tears, her body marked by violence. John's heart clenched. He'd seen suffering in the West, outlaw ambushes, lost friends, but this was different. This was evil, deliberate and cruel. Mary's eyes widened at the sound of his horse, shimmering with fear and a flicker of hope. Her lips trembled, silently begging for rescue. John slid from his saddle, his red scarf shifting in the wind as he crouched to meet her gaze. "You're safe now, girl," he said, his voice rough but steady. "I've got you." Her shoulders shook with relief and lingering terror. Drawing his knife, its blade glinting in the sunlight, John cut through the ropes, each snap like the breaking of chains. Mary winced as blood rushed back to her hands, but she stifled her cries, refusing to appear weak before this stranger who had shown her more kindness in moments than she'd known in years. As the last rope fell, John steadied her with a firm hand. She leaned against him, trembling but alive. In that moment, he made a silent vow, no man with honor could walk away now. But the air grew still, heavy with the sense that this rescue was only the beginning. Hank's shadow lingered, a threat that wouldn't fade easily. Mary's hand shook as John guided her to his horse. "Easy now," he said, his voice calm, like soothing a spooked animal. "Breathe. He's not touching you again, not while I'm around." Her lips quivered, struggling to form words. "It was him," she whispered. "My stepfather. He wants the ranch. He won't stop." John's jaw tightened. He'd seen greed twist men into monsters, but preying on family was a special kind of rot. "Listen," he said, meeting her eyes. You're not alone anymore. That ranch is yours, and he's got no right to it. Tears spilled down Mary's cheeks, not just from fear but from hearing someone take her side. John helped her onto the horse, her grip weak but determined on the saddle horn. He swung up behind her, his presence steady and protective. The horse carried them away from the fence, away from Hank's cruelty, the creak of leather and the rhythm of hooves the only sounds. Mary leaned back slightly, trusting this stranger because he was her only hope. They reached the ranch house as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fire. The wooden boards creaked under their boots as John carried Mary inside. The air smelled of dust and old wood, but here, she was free from the ropes. John set her down gently, fetching water to clean her cuts. His hands were rough, his touch careful, almost fatherly. Mary watched him, wondering why a stranger cared more for her than the man meant to be family. Night settled over the ranch, warm and restless. Mary sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes still shadowed with fear. John leaned against the wall, his gaze sharp, knowing the fight wasn't over. Men like Hank didn't quit easily. The silence broke with the crunch of boots on gravel, then the creak of the ranch gate, slow, deliberate. Mary froze, her breath catching. John's hand rested on his pistol. Hank's voice tore through the night, "You can't hide her, old man. That ranch is mine, and so is she." Mary stood, trembling but fierce, her voice rising from a newfound strength. "You're lying. Mama left it to me. You'll never take it." The door burst open, and Hank stormed in, eyes bloodshot, fists clenched with drunken rage. He lunged for Mary, but John stepped between them, a wall of resolve. The men clashed, fists meeting flesh, boots scraping the wooden floor. The table tipped, the lantern swung, shadows dancing wildly. Mary pressed into the corner, her heart pounding as the fight raged. Hank swung hard, but John dodged, landing a punch that sent Hank stumbling. Still, Hank's greed and fury drove him back. John's years showed in his weathered face, but his strength held, each strike fueled by a need to protect. The struggle shook the room until John pinned Hank to the floor, the pistol clattering away. "Your time's up," John growled. "You're finished." Mary stepped forward, her voice steady despite her trembling. "You'll answer for this. Not to me, not to him, but to the law." For the first time, fear flickered in Hank's eyes. In the West, a man could run, but justice would find him. Dawn broke over the ranch, painting the sky gold and red. With John by her side, the county lawmen took Hank into custody. His cruelty, Mary's bruises, the neighbor's testimony, his own rage, spoke louder than any defense. Mary felt the weight lift from her chest. The ropes were gone, the fear broken, replaced by hope. The ranch didn't heal overnight. Fields needed mending, fences rebuilding, and some nights, the silence ached. But Mary was no longer a victim. John stayed, teaching her to ride with confidence, to shoot straight, to stand tall. The frightened girl of 17 grew into a woman of strength. The ranch thrived under her steady hand, and her bond with John deepened, not a fairy tale love, but one forged in pain and patience, rooted in shared struggle. Mary's story is more than a Western tale. It's a reminder that strength rises from hardship, that justice comes to those who endure, and that love can bloom in the harshest lands. We all face our own Hanks, cruelty, betrayal, greed. When despair threatens, someone may step in, as John did, to remind us we're not alone. Mary's scars became proof of her survival, her smile a blend of sorrow and joy. What would you have done in Mary's shoes? Would you have fought, or lost hope? Share your thoughts, and tell me where you're reading from and what time it is. Your support means the world, but please, take care of yourself, rest, don't just read late into the night. I'm grateful for you, and I'll keep sharing stories as long as you're here.